Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Friday. The SIF wants to find these areas of confluence. So he's got 5 moving averages here, and he's using a sixth moving average here, the red one, as kind of a trend filter. All right. So the trades have to be in agreement with the higher, the 200 period EMA, the higher period EMA here, so the red one. And then he's looking for this confluence area where you can see all 5 of these moving averages are crossing over each other, very in a tight pack, either on the same bar essentially. This sometimes it might take 2 bars. But most importantly, the price spread, the price difference needs to be, he's looking for a 3-tick confluence area. So the moving averages all need to be within 3 ticks of each other here. So that's what we're going to work on today. Okay, so just before I get started, let's see, it looks like a SIF has wrote in a little comment, so let me just read this real quick here. Oh, okay, Asif, I understand your question. Okay, yeah, I'll understand. I'll explain your confusion there, Asif, when I build this system here. Very common, very, I guess not common, but easy mistake to make. So, okay. And all right, so let's see. Yeah, Julie's got a question about the truth table. So yeah, we'll cover that, Julie. Yeah, so Julie, you'll be third in line. So we got Asif's question, then we got Michael's question, and then Julie's. Okay, so back to this. All right, so for anybody new in the room, new to BloodHound, I already have BloodHound on my chart. That's what the green bars are here. So it's already loaded up in my chart. I've already prepared this chart ready to go, so you don't have to sit through me setting up all the EMAs and everything. So I already have BloodHound loaded on chart, and you'll see this empty template button here. So this is BloodHound. It means that BloodHound's empty. So click on the button, and you can see it opens up the interface. And you'll notice I always like to work with the chart on one side of my screen and the BloodHound interface on the other side of my screen. That way I can just switch back and forth real quick. All right, so this condition here is using actually 6 moving averages, and so we're looking for 5 of them to be crossing at the same time. So this is going to take a lot of solvers here. It's going to take a bunch of different crossover solvers and a bunch of different comparison solvers. So normally, I'll start off by building a couple of solvers on the solver tab, but this time, I'm just going to go and start working on the logic tab right away. So we'll create a new logic template here, and I'll rename this. So something like that, and let's open this up a little bit more. Alright, so the easiest thing to do is I'm just going to start building a bunch of crossover solvers, looking for all these various crossovers that are happening here. So we want to make sure that all 5 crossovers are all kind of crossing over each other. So let's see, I guess to kind of give you a written example here. There we go. Let me make this text a little smaller. There. So this is just to illustrate, all the different crossovers that we're looking for, right? Essentially, we want to make sure that all the crossovers are crossing each other. So this list here kind of has some. It has some duplicates. let's see, you know, like right here, the 15 over the 5 is a duplicate because we already have that one there. You know, so let's eliminate that one off the list. And the 1510 is a duplicate because we have that one right there already. So let's eliminate that one off the list. Let's see, 1520, we don't have that one yet. 1550, I don't see that one yet. Okay, so the 25, we already have that one. So we can eliminate that one. We have the 2010 is already right there. So let's eliminate that one off the list. See the 2015, well, that one's there. So we can eliminate that one off the list. And the 2050, we don't have that one yet. Now, all right, so the blue line is the 50 EMA, and we already have the 50 EMA already. So we got the 51, the 50 there, the 50 there, the 1050. We have the 1550 and the 2050. So essentially, these are already covered. So we don't need any of those. All right, and you know, keep in mind when you're looking for a crossover condition, you typically want the faster moving average first. You know, when you're looking at crossover conditions, typically you're analyzing the faster moving average to cross over the slower one. So this is kind of also how we want to set them up, right? We want the faster period to cross over the slower period. And that's how this, I believe that's how SIF wants this to work in this case, based on the screenshots he sent me. So, all right, so I'll just start cranking away and you know, build a bunch of crossover solvers here. All right, so I want the EMA 5 and 10. So change that to the EMA, change my period to the 5, only one plot, so I don't have to do anything there. And the next step is to put the EMA 10 in the indicator B section. So and let's connect that up there. So, all right, so essentially, right, the 5 is the yellow EMA, and here, let's see, let me stretch this out a little bit, expand that out. So the yellow is the 5, and the cyan is the 10, like so. So there's a couple of crossovers there. All right. There, I'll keep that list up here just for conveniences. Okay, so now I have one of them done, so I'm going to show you. Here's a little shortcut, right? I'm going to take this, copy it, and I'll rename it. So now it's going to be the 5 to 50. Oops. Get the cursor in the right spot. Okay, 5 to the 15 crossover. So we've done this one, and we've done this one. So we'll do the 520 and the 550 next. Now all I've done, you know, is just rename this. I haven't actually gone in here and fixed, you know, corrected the periods yet. So I'm just going to copy these first and just rename them. Alright, so we want the 20. There's the 20. Copy that. And make it the 550. Like so. Alright, and let's see. Oh, there's one here that I can scratch off the list here, the 10.5, because that's already, we've already made a 10.5, so let's scratch that off there. So we need a 1015 next. All right, so let's copy that. So, all right, 1015. And we want a 1020 next. All right, and a 1050. Okay, next we'll move on to the 1520 and 1550. All right, I'll copy that. So 1520, and I'll copy this one, and we'll make that our 1550, and just one last one to go. Alright, this would be a 2050. Okay, so essentially, right, I just made a bunch of copies, and now I need to actually go in and fix all the periods. So, I'm going to, yeah, actually, I guess I'll do it right here. I was thinking about actually fixing it on the logic board, but so, well, actually, you know, as if, so here, let me kind of give you an example here. So let's look at the 520, right? The 520, it has the 5 EMA, but it still has the 10. So 520. So I'm going to switch over to my logic tab. And if I go to my existing nodes, right there's the 520. I could drop it down here. And you know, I can actually, you know, correct it and change it to a 520 crossover, right? So now it's a 5 and a 20. I can plug it in, look at it. Now if I go back to my solver tab and look at the 520, right, you can see it changed it right here. So, so a part of what is happening as if is, you know, let me, for example, this is why it's important to name your solvers here. So let's see, let me make a new logic template, and let me drop the 520 on here. Yeah, I'll use the 520. Connect that in, and if we look at it, there we go. Now, if I go in and, you know, change this, you know, say I change this to an SMA. An SMA 14, right? Change it to an SMA 14. Now, if I look at my other logic template, right, the one that we're actually building, if I look at the 520 here, look, it changed it to an SMA 14. That's because it's the same solver. So a SIP, that's what's happening is you've got the same solver on you know, different logic templates. And so if you edit one, you're editing all of them because it's the same solver. It's, you know, if I go back to my solver tab to look at the list of all of them, you know, it's this same solver here. So that's why it's important to name your solvers, you know, and name them uniquely. So that way when you see this, you know, this solver on, you know, across multiple logic templates, you know, you'll know that it's the same solver. So if you edit one, you know, if I go back and make this a SMA 100, then if I go back to the Confluence crossover template and I look at this, you know, 520 crossover, look, I just changed it to an SMA 100. So except that's what's happening when you're editing that comparison solver there. So, all right, so So there, we got off topic a little bit, but we'll get back to building this condition here. All right, so let me fix the EMA in here. So, all right, so this is the EMA 520, and my EMAs are back to the 520. Okay, good. So I'm going to go back to the solver tab here and just check to make sure everything's correct, right? So 510, this is supposed to be the 515, so that's the 5, and that's a 15. EMA, so that's a 5, and that's the 20. And so now this should be in the 5 and the 50. All right, so let's change that to 50. And we'll just walk down the list and correct all these. All right, this is supposed to be a 10, 15. 15. All right, so we got the 1020 done. Okay, 1050 next. All right, this needs to be a 1520. Okay, almost there. All right, 15. Let's see, 1550. All right. Okay, it looks like our last one here, 2050. Okay, so I have, all the EMA periods set correctly now. So now the next step is just to drop them all on the logic template here. So I'm just gonna go through and just drop them all on here. Okay, now I'll just space them all out. Oop. So you'll notice that sometimes, right, when you have a group selected like this, and then you try and grab another solver, it doesn't actually grab it. That's because the group is still selected. So all you got to do is just click off in a blank area, and you can see how these are not selected anymore, and then you can go and grab another solver there. All right, so when you've got a group selected, that group is held on to. If you try and grab another solver, that group is, oh, it wasn't that time. Let's see. Well, let's say sometimes, sometimes for some reason the selection window holds on to the group, as you had saw earlier, and so all you need to do is just click off into a blank area and unselect them. All right, so we've got all these, nice and spaced out. So the next step is, all these crossovers need to happen, within the same area. So they all need to happen at the same time, so that just means we need to plug them all into an AND node here. And oh, look, already I can tell this is not going to work. Look, our signal disappeared. So let's see, let me get rid of this. So let's take a look at these crossovers one at a time. Okay. So right here, right, this is the 510. So we're looking at the 510 crossover. So now let's take a look at the 520. And actually, 520, yep, 520. Let's see. Oh, looks like I got the 520 on here twice. Looks like I'm missing the 515. Let's take a look here. There is a 515. Oh, okay. So, looks like I added the 520 twice. So let me go back and add the 515. There we go. Alright. So we're looking at the 510 right now on the chart. Let's take a look at the 515 crossover. And look, you see how the crossover happens one bar afterwards? Right? It's not on the same bar as the 510 that I've got marked with my red arrow. So if we take a look at both of these crossovers together, right, we can see there's no signal because they're not happening on the same bar. So, one thing that we can do, if we're looking at the 510, since this 510, right, those are the fastest moving averages on our system. So what we can do is we can adjust our look back period to set it. Let's increase it by 1. So to set it to 2. And you see how now the crossover signal extends forward an extra bar. So we now have 2 bars showing us that the crossover of the 510. And so now we can actually get a signal here. Right. So now we can actually get a crossover when they're crossing over. So, all right. And so I'll just I'll continue to plug in these crossover solvers. And look, we still got a short signal there, so this is working out so far. And there, that killed it. So, yeah, so look, let's see, this is the 1020 happened 2 bars later. So, maybe this is just a bad example that I picked on the chart. I mean, it looked good, but the crossovers aren't happening quite, as we want. So, let me just continue to, connect all these crossovers together. And I'm thinking there's probably a good chance where, where there's nowhere on the chart that all these crossovers happen on the same bar. But let's just take a look here. Alright, I'm just going to scroll through the chart. I identified a couple of other possibilities with the triangle on here, but you can see it's not happening there or there. So, alright, so far nothing. So, yeah, so the BloodHound kind of shows us that, maybe what we think we see with our eyes actually isn't truly happening. So we'll probably need to make some adjustments to this ASIF. So, so ASIF, while I'm kind of working on this, if you want to, maybe suggest some changes that you want to see to this. So in the meantime, I'll continue to build out the rest of the conditions here. Right, so we've got all the crossovers built, and the next step is to kind of check for this confluence area. Right, so we're looking for an area that's three ticks. So we want not an area, but we want all the moving averages to be within 3 ticks of each other. All right, so I'm going to build a little square here that's 3 ticks in height. So there we go. From 06 to 09 is 3 ticks in height. So essentially we need to make sure that you know, all the moving averages are inside this tight range here. And you know, so far so good. It looks like they all are. You know, if I extend this forward 1 bar, yeah, you know, depending on what bar you're looking at, it looks like they're all within 3 ticks of each other. So it looks like that part's going to work. And all right, so Asif has suggested try checking for the crossover within 3 bars. So what we'll do is we'll go in here and set our look back to 3, and we'll have to change some of these other look backs as well in some of the other crossovers. 3 3. So I'm just going to go down the list one at a time until we actually get a signal. If we get a signal. Yeah, still no signal. Alright, so let's take a look and see what's happening here. Oh, there we go. Look at that. The 1520 happened really late. It happened 4 bars late. Yeah, it did. So this is the culprit that you know, just isn't working with this yet. Oh, and there you go. The 2050 never did cross. Yep. Here we go. So here's the 20. The 20 is this guy. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Yeah, the 20 is that lighter blue moving average. And the darker blue one is the 50 moving average, and you can see that they never did cross each other. So you know, once again, it's, you know, our eyes can easily, you know, our eyes have a tendency to tell us what we want to see. So that's kind of the benefit of having, you know, some mechanical kind of system to help you, you know, confirm what you think you see. So, all right. So Asif has some suggestions here. So he's saying let's change the 50 to a 30 and try within 4 bars. So, all right. So we'll take the 50. So first let's make the change on our chart. I'll change this to a 50 period. And let's see, BloodHound's asking me, do I want to save my template? Yes, I do. So let's go down here and save it to today's date. All right. There we go. And all right, so that definitely looked like that cured it for at least this condition here. At least you know, these couple of bars here. So we'll have to now adjust BloodHound here to. We'll have to change all the period settings inside of BloodHound here. So let's see, any of them that say 50 now need to be changed to 30. So I can change that to 30. Go in there. Change that to 30. You know, so this is kind of a good process of, you know, of discovery and, you know, adjusting your system on the fly to find out, you know, what tweaks need to be made, you know, to your logic and your set of rules to, you know, to get this, to get your system to work, to get your, basically, you know, to get some signals to fire off here. I think this is the last one. And all right, let's see, just checking the list again. Yeah, no more 50s left in there. Okay, we'll take a quick peek here. Still, all right, so 3 bars is still not working yet. And let's scan through each of these crossovers and find out why. So the 1520, yeah, that's right, the 1520 is still happening out here on the 4th bar. So, all right, so one of Asif's suggestions was, well, let's, you know, let's accept 4 bars, you know, a 4-bar span to allow all the crossovers to occur. So we'll change our look back on all of these to 4. Alright, so I'm just going through each solver one at a time and just changing the look back to 4. Okay, so let's take a look at the AND node, and there we go. Okay, so yeah, it took 4 bars at least to get all the crossovers to work. And we kind of had to change the 50 period to the 30 period. Okay. Alright, so we have a couple of signals now. Alright. Working good. Alright, so the next step is we want to make sure that all the moving averages are in a tight, you know, 3-tick range of each other. Right? So, to do that, essentially we're going to do the same thing as we did with the crossovers. We're just going to build a bunch of comparison solvers and compare, right, each of, you know, each of the moving averages to each other, just like we did with the crossovers here. So I think I'll need to zoom out on my board a little bit. Probably stretch this out. Okay, so I'll start with a new comparison solver here. Alright, give this thing a name. So this is going to be the 5 to the 10 comparison. Alright, change my indicators over to the EMA. And so let's see, what we want is a 3-tick range, and to do this, you know, to look for, you know, essentially two plots, you know, close to each other in proximity to each other, we want to use the small amount. So we want the small amount set to 3, and the large amount should be, you know, as a good practice, it should be equal. The large amount should be equal to the small amount or larger. So in that case, I'm going to set them both to 3 because I don't want to leave the large amount to 0. I don't want to leave it at 0. I want it to be, you know, equal to the small amount or bigger. So now for the outputs, we're not interested when one moving average, right, is greater than the other. We're kind of looking for this neutral zone, or this, you know, this equal zone. So I'm going to set my outputs to 0, and we'll set this to 1, and I'm also going to set the short side to 1. So if we look at the chart now, it's probably, you know, because we're using Renko bars and, you know, a 5 period and a 10 period, you know, I think those two moving averages are always going to be within 3 ticks of each other. Yeah, it looks like they are. Yeah, we probably won't ever find a situation where the 5 and the 10 ever separate more than 3 ticks, just because, you know, they're both fast and close, you know, fast period moving averages, and so they're always going to be tight. So but, you know, so I'd say normally, you know, I probably wouldn't even build this solver. You know, I don't think we really would ever need it, but I'll just leave it in here, just, you know, just for an example, just, you know, just for a conceptual example here. Right, so I've got one of these built, so I'm going to switch back over to my solver tab. Right, I can see it right there, and to make this a little easier, I'm just going to copy this, right, and change the name and change the period. All right, and just go down the list. Okay, so there's the 5 EMA being compared to all the other EMAs. Alright, Alright, so next let's work on comparing the 10 EMA to the others. So I need to change this to 10. Okay, so there's our 10-15 comparison. So now we'll make this one into a 10-20. And one more to go, a 10-30. Alright, the next step, let's see, we need to start working on the 15 EMAs. So we'll compare the 15 EMA to the 20. Alright, so there's our 15 to the 20. And now we'll build a 15-30 comparison. So now the convenience of copying all these is that when I copy them, essentially my large amount and small amount, you can see they're already set up. My outputs are already set up, so it saves me a little time. All I had to do is go and adjust my indicator periods. And let's see, I think we just have one last one to go. I think the 20-30. Okay, I think we have them all built now. Yeah. Alright, so let's drop them all on the logic board here. Okay. Yeah, Sif just wrote me a little comment, so alright, yeah, I see a Sif. So, but I'm just going to continue on with what I'm doing, just, so conceptually, we can get this all done. So Sif wants to make a little minor adjustment to this system, which to me makes sense. But, let's just say that, technically we want to make all these comparisons, so I'll just finish this. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Okay, the 10-15. $10-20. All right, the 10-30. All right, the 15-20. $15-30. And the last one, the 20-30. Okay. And essentially we want, all of these EMAs to be, within 3 ticks of each other. So once again, we need another AND node to do this. So we'll connect the AND node up to the result, and let's get the chart set up here. Okay, there's our area. So as we start connecting all these solvers to the AND node, Yeah. So we can see that the number of signaling bars is getting smaller and smaller. So we're kind of narrowing things down a little bit. All right, like so. So we've got, you know, quite a number of bars here where all these EMAs are make this kind of, you know, confluence area. We're all close to each other. So let's organize this a little bit. Now, I could take all of these, you know, solvers, and I could connect them all into the same AND node. You know, that would give you the same result. You know, but I just put them in a separate AND node just so I could, you know, just so I could take a look at the output of this AND node as I'm connecting them all in, just to make sure that, you know, hey, that we're going to get, you know, a signal here, you know, showing that all the moving averages are close together. So now what we need to do is I can take this AND node, plug it into the other AND node, and there we go. So there's our trade signal. So as we look back through this, shrink this up. So there we go. There's where all of our conditions are met. Now there's one last condition that we haven't made yet, and that is, you know, we have to make sure that the signal agrees with the slope of our 200 period EMA, right? Kind of our trend direction filter here, the 200 EMA. So that is pretty simple to do. All we need is a slope solver. Right, take this guy. All right, let's plug it in to the result node. And we'll change the name, so this is going to be an EMA 200. We'll change our indicator. And let's kind of scroll through our chart a little bit here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. That's working, so we can see our EMA is pointing up, and we're getting a long signal here. Points back down, we're getting a short signal. Alright, simple enough. So, we'll just connect this slope solver into any of these AND nodes. Doesn't matter which one. But I'll just connect it into this one down here that's close to. And let's see. I'm just seeing if this, you know, slope solver made a difference on any of the signals here. Oh, possibly over here. So let's see what happens when we connect the slope solver back up. Yeah, good, good. There we go. So I got rid of that long signal there. All right. So let's disconnect this one more time so you can see, right, that long signal shows up. So using that trend filter, got rid of that long signal there. Okay, and oh look, so looks like this area that I thought might match with, you know, I circled it with the triangle, so we did get a signal here. And I think there's another area further back I marked. Yep, so here's an uptrend and confirming with our 200 period EMA. Alright, there's another spot. Let's see, I think there was another area I tried to confirm with a triangle. Let me find it. Let's see. I must have passed it already. Let me start back at the beginning of the chart. Okay, so there's one. Yep, so... And I just eyeballed these on the chart before building the system, and yeah, it's kind of lucky and I got them right. You know, but let me tell you, it took me a while to find these. You know, to find these areas of confluence, you know, so... And, you know, as you're watching this in real time, you know, it can be a bit time consuming, you know, for the mind, you know, for your eyes and your mind to really try and confirm, you know, if all your moving averages are, you know, close enough together, if they're all crossing over each other, you know, so definitely using BloodHound to find something like this, you know, just tells you instantly. So it gives you much quicker feedback. So, all right. So let's make a couple of adjustments here that Asif has suggested. And all right, thanks, Heinz. Heinz had caught earlier on that I had 2 of the 520 crossovers. Alright, so what Asif wanted to do is just use one comparison solver instead of all of these comparison solvers. So let's see, so what we'll do, let's disconnect this AND node here, and let's see, I'll move all these guys kind of back behind here. And let's see, Asif wanted to use the 530. So there we go, here's our 530. Alright, I'll pull this guy out. And we'll put him over here. Alright, we'll put the slope solver down there. And we'll take a look at it from this way. So what I'll do is connect this AND node up, and then just take these solvers and, you know, connect them all into the same AND node. All right, so let's take a look at the chart now. And you know, it looks pretty similar. So, yep, we still have our signal over here. So, you know, it looks like that works. You know, and I guess, you know, the benefit of building all these solvers is, you know, now you can just, you know, plug and play all these solvers, you know, just mix and match and, you know, kind of quickly, you know, figure out, you know, what works, you know, what do you like? Do you need an extra comparison solver in there or not? You know, is this going to work a little better if maybe we disconnect one of these crossover solvers? You know, maybe you'll get a signal a little earlier if you do that. You know, let's see if let's kind of play around here. If I disconnect a couple of these crossover solvers, see if we get a signal a little sooner. Yeah, there we go. We got a signal a little sooner now. Previously, let's connect this guy back up. Alright, so we can see I've got the arrow on the signal now. If I disconnect another crossover solver, We can see I'm getting a signal 1 bar sooner. So you can just mix and match, and plugging all these solvers into an AND node, and see what kind of works, what you like, and what'll give you the earliest signal, and still some really good results. So, and all right, so yeah, there we go. So if you'd like this template, just send us an email and we'll email it off to you. Alrighty. Let's see. All right. Andreas is asking, what's that triangle? So, I started working on this location right here with the circle, because I was pretty confident that this area was actually going to give us a signal. And the triangles, essentially, when I was putting these triangles on here, I was just kind of guessing. I put these triangles on here before I built the system, just using my eye to using my own eye and looking at the moving averages to try and figure out myself, if this area was going to have a trade signal before I built it with BloodHound. So that's all I was doing. I was just marking it with a triangle, just identifying that spot to see if I could spot it before I actually built it within BloodHound. And so I just put the triangle on here so I knew that where to come back to look at this to see if I had made a correct assessment or not. So that's all that is. And so Jim is asking, what's the template called? So you can always see the name of your template right up here on the BloodHound button, right? So you can see the BloodHound button on the top of the chart here, and so that is the template name. And so essentially, just let us know that you want the template from today, right? So this, tell us you want the template from 2014, September 5th. So what Kirk wanted to know is, so if we're looking at the right edge of my chart, Kirk wanted to know, how do you determine what the previous bar direction was? Right, so we can see that this previous bar is an up bar, and so he wanted to know on this next bar whether the previous bar was an up bar or not. So he wants to know on this bar if the previous bar was an up bar or not. So I'll show you how to do that real quick. It's pretty simple to do. So let me make a new logic here, and we'll name this. Alright, so previous bar direction. So I'm going to use the bar direction solver. Alright, connect that in there. And you'll see the bar direction solver has this setting here. It's called start bars or go. So if I set that to 1, essentially it's kind of doing the same thing. Think of it as essentially doing the same thing as the displacement. Alright, the displacement feature. So if I look at this crossover solver, you see how we have this displacement feature. You can displace your indicator by however many bars you want. The comparison solver here also has this displacement feature. Right, this displacement is a NinjaTrader function. You can displace all your indicators on the chart. All right, so this is an indicator setting. So we just included it with the solvers. And the bar direction, it's not an indicator. So we did add the displacement to it, and it's just the start bars to go. And so if we look at my chart now, we can see that this down bar was marked with the previous bar, with the previous bar's direction. And if I skip 1 bar forward, so now we can see the next bar is showing us the previous bar, which was a down bar. And so now we're getting that short output, like so. So, You know, just in, let's see, bar direction. Let's see, how about, I'm going to rename this solver here, so I'll show you another example here. So one bar back. So this solver is now called the one bar back direction. So if I add another bar direction, just to give an example, just remember you can always use the lookback function node. So the lookback function node can displace any of your signals as well from any solver. So you can take, it's just a universal displacement function. So if I connect it up, and so look, if we look at the output here, our output hasn't changed any. Let's shrink this up here. And I'll just mark a couple of bars there, right? So if I take a look at this other solver, right, they both look the same now. And so this bar direction is not using the start bar as a go, it's set to 0, but we're using the lookback function node here, which has a displacement function in it. So if I set this displacement to 0, right, you see how the signals change? So now the output, matches the bar direction because it's not being displaced anymore. Right? So if I change this to 1, you can see how the signals get shifted forward 1 bar. And if I displace it by 2, right, you'll see this up bar, gets shifted forward 2 bars. Or it gets displaced forward 2 bars. So you can always use the look back, as a universal displacement. Michael wants to know, how to add chameleon to place entry at high. Place entry at high, short, or low. He wants to buy 1 bar back on a BloodHound signal bar for long or short. Let's see. Let's see, Michael, I think I need a little more clarification. Let me get chameleon put on the chart first. Alright, I need to make all these plots a little smaller first. Okay, so let's add chameleon onto the chart. And I think the way you want to use this, Michael, I'm going to set the look back to 1. Yeah, let's try that. And let's see. So Michael, to give an example, we can see that, right, chameleon is giving us these, the red and green hashes on the chart. How about if I make them a little bit thicker so they really stand out? Oops, no. Okay, so on this bar here, right, we can see the green hash is marking the high of the previous bar. Maybe actually this will probably work better if I switch to a minute chart. And a minute chart. Alright, let me get some data in here. Looks like I have some missing data on the chart. So I guess, Michael, I think what I'm trying to ask you is, you know, how are you, I'm not exactly sure how you're using the high or the low. So alright, let's take a look at this bar right here on the right side of our chart. You know, we have the high of the bar marked, and we have the low of the previous bar marked, and so I'm just wondering exactly, you know, how are you using these highs or lows to determine if you want a short or a buy signal? Okay, so let's see. So Michael, is your question really about how to, are you just wanting to identify an engulfing bar, or are you wanting Raven to place an order at the low? So here's what Michael's saying. So Michael's saying if he gets an engulfing bar long, he places a buy order at the low of the previous bar. Raven doesn't have the ability to, you know, specify like an exact limit order price right now. So what you could do, you know, is if you could use Chameleon here to, you know, identify the previous low of the bar, to know where, you know, where to place your order a little quicker. You know, I guess visually it might be a little easier to see that. But Raven, the way it is now, you can't actually use an indicator to specify, you know, a price for a limit order. So let me let's see if I can find an engulfing bar here. Let's see, Michael, would you consider this to be an engulfing bar? It looks like, you know, they're equal on the bottom. The lows are equal and the bodies are equal. So some people may or may not consider that engulfing. Alright, so close enough. Yeah, okay. Alright, let's make this a little bigger. Yeah, so as you can see, the way I have Chameleon set up, right, it is identifying the previous bar's low. You know, if I look at this bar here, right, Chameleon's plot is identifying the previous bar's low if it's lower, you know, assuming that it's lower. So maybe that'll you know, offer a little assistance there, but yeah, there's no way to actually specify this price in Raven. So, you know, the next strategy that the next strategy to come out other than Raven, you know, the next product to come out will have that capability where you can use an indicator to set your limit price at. So yeah, so alright, I hope that helps, Mike. So I guess, you know, technically we can't address your question quite yet, but okay, it looks like I'm just left with Julie's question. So the truth table essentially is like a fancy AND node. It's kind of a fancy way of using an AND node. So let me rename this. Alright, so the truth table. So let's add, let's see, there we go, there's the truth table. And actually, yeah, this is a good, this actually is a good workshop to show the truth table, because I have a bunch of solvers. I have a bunch of crossover solvers and comparison solvers to demonstrate that on. So let's see, actually. So here's what I'm going to do. To make things easier on myself, I'm going to take this system here that we built for a SIF, because it already has all these solvers on it. So I'm going to make a copy of it and rename it to the truth table 1. And all I need to do is get rid of these AND nodes here. Okay, I'm just going to try and organize these nodes a little bit, so that way when you can visually see what's going on a little easier. Just kind of preparing for what I'm going to show you. So you can see I've got the crossover solvers here are in front, and then all my comparison solvers are in back. So we could use kind of the truth table to build this Confluence crossover a different way using the truth tables. And interesting. Looks like I'm missing a crossover solver maybe. Let's see, let's start from the top. 510, 510, 515, 520, EMA. Oh. There we go. Switch the solvers. So this guy was the slope solver. Let's put him off to the side. Alright, so we got 520, 520, 530, 530, 1020. Oh. Look at that. I'm missing the 1015 crossover. Oh. Okay. So let me add the 1015 crossover here. Alright, there we go. So let me go fix this previous template back here. Alright, now we get that fixed, and I'll switch back over. Alright, so I have all my crossover solvers here in front and all the comparison solvers in back. So what I could do is I could use this truth table, and essentially this truth table kind of acts, it acts exactly like a bunch of AND nodes together. So let's say I took a couple of AND nodes, and if I could stack them all together, like this, so I've got 3 different AND nodes, and and I could plug different different solvers into each one, just to kind of give it a visual example. Plug that one into there. Plug those two into there, that one in. I'll just plug that one and that one in. So let's imagine that we had the capability to kind of stack all these AND nodes together, into one node, into one kind of function, and that's kind of what the truth table does. So to build the truth table, right, we have to click on the button to open up its interface. And so here's its interface. So you can see, right, it's blank, right? So we have to set it up from scratch. So I can add a row, and I can add another row, and so I can call this, I'll just call it row row A, and I'll call this row B, and add another one on here and call this row C. So essentially each of these rows acts like they are their own AND node. So row A, I could get it to create like the AND node up on the top here, and row B, I can set it up so it acts like an AND node, the one in the middle, and then row C can act like this AND node, the one at the bottom. And then, so let me just click OK for now. And yeah, there's duplicates right now, so actually I'll need to cancel that. So the problem is I didn't connect anything into the truth table first. So what I need to do is connect a bunch of stuff into the truth table, right? So you can see essentially I connected all the solvers that I'm using in this AND node here. So let me name these AND nodes, right? A, B, C, just to give it something simple. So let me park this OR node. Okay, so now I'll get back to the truth table, and alright, there we go. Just had to stretch this out a little bit so I can get back to the interface here. Open this up, and let's see. Oh, that's right. The columns are ABC3. So hold on. For simplicity, let me change the name of these AND nodes. So I'll name them actually 1. So it'll be row. Essentially, this would be like row 1. Oh, come on. This will be row 2 in my truth table. That AND node is going to this AND node will be like row 3 in my truth table. So what's going to happen in the truth table is like each of these AND nodes is going to be represented by a row in my truth table. All right. So let me zoom in here so that we can see what's going on, because we're going to need to pay attention to the solvers that are connected into AND node 1, and pay attention to what's connected into AND node 2 and AND node 3. Alright, so let's open up the truth table. Now you see all the columns up on the top here, A through E. or F, I'm sorry. And if we look at the node, look at the truth table node, it has A, B, C, D, you know, all the way to G. So I need to stretch this out a little bit. Well, yeah, it has all the way to G, but G is not connected, right? So we have, the only connections we have is A through F, right? And we can see that we have a columns A through F, and then our description. So, right, so each of the solvers that are connected into our truth table is represented, you know, as this column for each of the connection points, you know, A through F. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a row, as I did before. So row 1, and essentially I'm going to make row 1 is going to represent the AND node number 1. And I'm going to take this row, I'll just name it row 2, and it's going to represent AND node number 2, and so forth. Right? So row 3 is going to represent the AND node number 3. So let's go back, okay, to row 1. So AND node 1. You know, if I look at what's plugged into the AND node here, right, I have this solver up here, and unfortunately I can't touch anything because I have this window open, but hopefully you guys can see my mouse pointer. So this solver, the 510 crossover solver, if I follow the leader, it's connected in to point A, right? It's connected into connection A, which is column A. So if I check this, that means that this truth table is going to be using the 510 crossover solver because it's connected into point A. So if I take a look at this AND node number 1, I can see, right, the 515 crossover is connected into the AND node. So let me follow the leader down to the truth table, and that's actually connection point B. So this AND node also has, well, in the truth table it's connection point B, right? So column B is the 515 crossover because it's connected into point B on our truth table. Right, so the next solver plugged into the AND node number 1 is our comparison solver down here, which let's see, it must be the 515 comparison. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the leader down to the truth table here, and it's actually point E. So in our truth table it's point E. Right? So these, you know, A, B, and E is what's plugged into the AND node. So essentially I just recreated AND node number 1 inside the truth table. So let's also create AND node number 2 inside our truth table. So we'll use row 2. Alright, so let's see. We've got the 515 crossover, which I believe is connection point B. So I'm going to check that. And let's see, also the 520 crossover, which is C. And also the comparison. I think it's the 510 comparison, but let's just follow the leader, and it's actually point D. So column D. Alright, now let's do the last AND node here. AND node number 3. So we have oh, looks like I actually didn't connect that crossover into the truth table. So let's we'll at least select the comparison solver here. So we have this comparison solver connected into the AND node, and that is point F. So point F, I'll connect that. And so what I'm going to have to do is close this out and actually take this crossover, connect it into the truth table, so that way we can recreate this correctly. So, and let's also slide this forward a little bit. Alright, I'm just trying to get this zoomed in as much as I can and kind of centered so you guys can read this. Alright, so let's open up the truth table again. So there we go. Click to edit. Alright, so here's our truth table. So this last solver, this last crossover, the 530 that we plugged into the truth table is now point G. So AND node number 3 is using F and G connection points. So essentially we use the truth table to recreate all three of these AND nodes. And so if we connect this in, we'll see a bunch of weird results here. And essentially what it's doing is the truth table is effectively taking all of these AND nodes and plugging them into an OR node. So if we take a look, we should get the same, and we're not. Let's see. Alright, let's take a look at this truth table here, see what's going on. Oh, that's right. I think it's my mistake. I think it's actually connecting them all into an AND node. So, no, not quite. Okay, we had a bug in this a long time ago, and it looks like the bug is still there, because I should be able to delete these rows. Let's see, the editor's not coming up anymore, and shoot. Well, yeah, you know what? This is still buggy. I think the point is that practically nobody uses it. So it's had kind of a low priority on getting the bugs fixed on it. But when it is working, this is how it's supposed to work. It's essentially kind of like allows you to quickly kind of take multiple AND nodes, right, and essentially you get a compiled OR output, right? So when you each of the rows, each of these rows that you create can represent a different AND node, so it's just kind of another way of being able to kind of quickly go in there, test different ideas. I mean, you get the same thing as just connecting and disconnecting leaders, within an AND node arrangement such as this. So that's what it's supposed to do, but yeah, it's still broken there, and it's most likely it's because I don't know of anybody that ever uses it. We've never had really, I can't remember any support requests, on using this or anything like that. So yeah. All right, Julie, so that's how it's supposed to function. All right, so Julie's got a little comment in here. I'm just reading this through. Yeah, so Julie's got a good comment in here, and on a way that Jeremy had explained this. So Julie's saying very early recording by Jeremy talked about using the truth table to exclude certain conditions while simultaneously using other certain conditions. So for example, you can take the 520 crossover only if the 50 is above the 200. So exactly, that would be a perfect example of using an AND node. And then she continues to say, but not if the 50 is below the 100. Yeah, so once again, if you're making sure that the 50 is not below the 100 MA, then once again that would be like another comparison solver that you would connect into your AND condition, and you would group all those three conditions together with an AND node. Yeah, so that's kind of what the truth table will do for you. So yeah, so if you are looking to create an exclusion, such as not when the 50 is below the 100 MA, once again, essentially that's kind of like setting up your solver to do that, to look for that condition, and then you would plug it into your AND node to cancel all the rest of the signals going into the AND node. Yeah, it's kind of weird talking about this conceptually without seeing something, but that's how that would work. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Bye bye.